So, is Bigfoot interdimensional? From my point of view and my perspective, no. 100% no, 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 no. Now, do they have extrasensory perceptions or expanded abilities greater than that of a regular animal? Absolutely. It's shocking how much more advanced they are in certain areas than other animals. So it makes sense to me why people would ask that question. You know, are they interdimensional? Are they extraterrestrial even? But as far as that's concerned, it's the same thing. No, 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 no. All the evidence points directly to a big fat no. They're in fact the indigenous hominid species of the planet Earth. If you imagine what that would look like, it wouldn't look like human beings, actually. I explained in my latest book, A Space for the Infinite, how human beings are not, from here in a way. Our DNA is not, it's not, if we just evolved on Earth, we wouldn't look like this. We wouldn't be sentient in the way we are and all this other stuff. Like, we would look very different. Probably a lot more like a Sasquatch looks now, because they are the indigenous being here. But what happened was, a long story, and I'm going all into it into my book. If you want to learn more, learn into that. You can go look it up. But that's a whole nother topic. We could go way down the path that will take us all night. I'm just trying to cover a few topics here, and it's Bigfoot. Bigfoot is not interdimensional, although they are animals that have abilities that are very, very highly evolved and advanced compared to other animals like them. But they're not extraterrestrials. It's kind of preposterous to even think that, because they are just so highly evolved for this particular planet that why would they ever, in what world would they have ever come from another planet? In what world would they have came from to just be perfectly adapted to our planet? I mean, it would just be insane to think that. But I understand, because people are like, well, then how can we not find them, or why do they seem so elusive from time to time? And honestly, I don't think they are. I don't think they are at all. At all. I think we just gotten so used to this idea of ridiculing people and not taking the evidence for what it's worth. We don't even look at it half the time. We want to ridicule people before we even look into what their, any evidence they have to present, which is something that is very against science as far as I'm concerned. But science has been manipulated by money and stuff like that. So I understand why people are so unaware of the reality of this amazing hominid, this relic species that has been here this whole time. It's amazing to me. They'll admit that the Australopithecine Homo afflorensis is a real being. Lucy, the skeleton they found, that's okay, right? We can have a little foot, but somebody finds a Bigfoot print and claims that they saw Bigfoot, and it's preposterous. I don't understand that. How is that Why is it one thing's okay, but the other extreme, it's not possible? You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. When I first heard about them, I knew that there was some layer of truth there, because you're not gonna, that's a bold statement to claim, you know. I mean, it's almost ridiculous if you didn't actually see it. Like, if it's not something that really happened, it's just ridiculous to even imagine somebody would try to convince you, because it's outstanding to think that these creatures are so amazingly adapted to their environment, instinctively, just naturally, to the point of having abilities that we wouldn't even conceive of. We don't even understand yet. But, you know, the problem with that is we think we are the apex species on this planet. We think we're so evolved and advanced. The secrets are in the DNA. We didn't evolve into this amazing being. We were kind of inferior to a Sasquatch until we had a special intervention process that actually caused us to have a mutation in our chromosomes, which would cause a different patterning in the DNA. But if it didn't happen that way, we would look exactly like a Sasquatch. That's what the humans would look like on Earth. That's what the hominoids of Earth would look like. We'd all be Sasquatch. You know, maybe more animal-like even. Maybe even less human, just more animal-like. Because, you know, the genealogy shows that they have actually bred with a human female before. I think 19 times or something like that. So, if there weren't any humans, we would probably be, the whole species of Sasquatch would be totally different probably. But they would be the number one apex predator on the planet. There would be no human beings. You wouldn't know about them because they would have never came into existence. That's the whole thing, is Sasquatch are very natural occurring through thousands of years of evolution. They're just evolved. But humans, we only evolved into a certain point where the intervention that took place made us what we are today. Otherwise, we wouldn't be like this. We wouldn't have technology and all this art, literature, and politics and everything you see today. It just probably wouldn't be that way. It's interesting, though, that the whole idea of what are their innate abilities, much like that of any other animal, I would say, except for, you know, there's a few things that apply to animals. Like, for instance, if a human being loves an animal and actually forms some type of relationship with it, that animal can take on part of that human being's soul and reincarnate, and, you know, not in the same form, well, you know, maybe a different form, but come and you know, they can locate that human again. The human can locate that same spirit of the animal in another animal and continue the love relationship. So it's very profound, very profound. The connection between animals and humans, but it's not with every animal. Like, for instance, wild animals that are just out there in the wilderness, they don't have souls. There's no spirits in these animals. There's not. I'm sorry. There's just not. They might have other characteristics and attributes, but they don't have a human soul. It's different. It's totally different than any other animal. But they can take on characteristics of the human soul, absolutely, if the human loves them and the human is trying to form a relationship with them in some way, they can, come back after death and take on the same relationship right up again, and have all the same characteristics that they always had, as a method to comfort the human, as a way to comfort humans throughout their life. And I know that sounds insane, and you're probably like, where'd you hear that? But I have my sources. I trust that is the way it's been. It's always been. It's always going to be. Maybe science hasn't caught up with that yet. Doesn't bother me at all. Science is slow sometimes, and that's just the way it is. If I sat around and waited for university professors to tell me everything I know about the existence of the world, shoot, there'd be a lot of things we didn't know, and yeah, one of them is, they're not extraterrestrials. They've been made to seem like extraterrestrials because people want to just make them sound like they're just so much more than they really are, but they're just animals. Just animals. They're amazing, don't get me wrong, and they're beautiful. And spiritual isn't the word I would use. Not spiritual, but very holistic or wholesome, aware of what would actually damage them, and they're very preventative in that area, but they're not like spiritual. Like, to say that they have a spirit is just weird. I mean, maybe if you found one that you loved, just like a cat, or a dog, if you fell in love with them and they they love you or whatever like that, maybe that is you can consider that spiritual, because there could be reality to the fact that they actually knew you in a previous life, and when they died, they came back for you, just for you, and so there's that aspect. But if you're just out in the wild and you're not, you just stumble across a random animal out there, you don't really form any type of bond with it like that, like Jane Goodall had with her gorillas, or chimpanzees. I don't think they have souls. I know they don't have souls, so it goes back to the whole idea of killing animals too. Like, is this wrong to do? No, not if it's not your pet. If you're not killing your pets, where's the, people are so crazy about that stuff. Like, you can't do that. The animal has a soul too. No, they don't have souls. Like humans have souls. They don't. So, I mean, as long as you're not threatening the entire population to the point of extinction, killing an animal is really a personal preference that you shouldn't judge somebody on. If they're going to eat animals, don't judge them. That's not right. You don't understand. These animals aren't like human beings. It's not like cannibalism. If they ate your pet dog, this is different, okay? I'm not saying if they ate your pet. I'm saying if they go out and hunt wild animals, it has no difference on whether or not, they're a good person. It's just ridiculous to even try to say that. So, they're not savages. They're not wild beasts. They're not monsters. They're just animals, just like any other animal. Humans are animals at some level. So, I mean, are we interdimensional? Are we extraterrestrial? I mean, you could probably argue that better than you could argue that a Sasquatch is, or that Bigfoot is. So, that's my thoughts for today. And yeah, have a good one.